Hello everyone, how's it going? Dr. Incompetent here, and I'd like to do a review for Stardew Valley, shall we? So Stardew Valley is, at this point, a iconic game, a sensation, really, one of the most popular games of recent memory, and it is a game that I've loved. I've played a ton of it on the channel. I have over 100 hours just on Steam, and I don't even know how many hours I have on my Switch. I have a Let's Play of this, which I will link in the description below, that goes very, very far into the game. And then I also have a complete beginner's guide. If you were thinking about getting the game, or you just got the game and you want to learn the basics and play along with me. So on Steam, Stardew Valley is defined or described as a farming sim with pixel graphics, a life sim, and these are some of the user-defined tags, and the flavor says, you've inherited your grandfather's old farm plot in Stardew Valley. Armed with hand-me-down tools and a few coins, you set out to begin your new life. Can you learn to live off the land and turn these overgrown fields into a thriving home? It's a pretty good start for thinking about what Stardew Valley is. Stardew Valley is a game where you are going to run a farm, but it's not just about running a farm, although that's largely the drive of the game. There's many systems that are built within it. So you're going to do some dungeon crawling, fighting with Zelda-style combat. There's fishing, there's relationships that you're going to make, giving people gifts, and even getting married. There's animals to raise, there's places to explore, there's quests to do, there's new areas to uncover, find. There's, of course, yes, farming, RPG skill ups for leveling your character, and some mini games and other systems that I haven't even described, but basically lots of stuff going on in Stardew Valley. It's kind of like, this do everything type of game, and it does it very, very well. It's not entirely unique, of course. I remember playing Harvest Moon for the Game Boy Color, and this was a game that I didn't think at all would draw my attention. I was like, what do you mean? I'm going to get cows and grow corn and stuff? And little did I know that that was going to be one of the games I invested most of my time in on the Game Boy Color, was just tending to my fields, playing this game. And this is very much, like a spiritual successor, or just in that space of farming sim. It takes a lot of the stuff from Harvest Moon, if you ever played one of those, and iterates on it, quality of life improvements, and yet it's completely its own thing at this point, with a presence in the gaming community that's unrivaled in some respects. So that is what Stardew Valley is. You get to start with very little and build up your farm as you see fit, grow the seasonal crops you want, raise the animals you want, make money, use that money to upgrade your farm. You will, by doing skills, upgrade yourself, and then there is a community center which you upgrade by doing things, turning in crops, fulfilling requirements, that also helps you upgrade. So it's just a great progression, and you can put so much time into this game, making millions of gold and going on and on and on, decorating your house and expanding it, etc. So given the fact that it has all these different systems, it has a lot going on, and now, of course, within the last couple of years, they've made it multiplayer. Is Stardew Valley a fun game? And that's the first thing I always talk about with reviews. Like, is the game fun? Yes, Stardew Valley is about the most fun you're going to have, if this is the kind of game that you get into. And Stardew Valley is one of those games where many, many gamers from different walks of life enjoy this game, even if it might not be their typical go-to. It's just so well done, so much fun, so satisfying, such a great way to chill out, vibe, and feel good about, the message of the game, helping the environment, getting away from the bustle of urban life and working on the land, doing stuff that is, positive, and it's not just completely degenerate. You're not just murdering droves and droves of enemies, for example. You do get into combat in the dungeon, but it's, slimes and things like that you don't really have to have moral concerns for tackling. But most of this game is spent just doing fun, peaceful activities and it is an absolute blast. It's not like the most exciting game where every moment is super exciting. It's more just a kind of slow burn of there's a smile on your face, you're relaxing, unwinding, and loving Stardew Valley. So yes, this is a tremendously fun game. Now, another thing I like to talk about are the controls for Stardew Valley. How does this game control? You got to do a lot of things. You got to fish, you got to plant, you got to fight, you got to talk to people, you got to, build your house, expand, manage your livestock, inventories, all sorts of different things that you're doing. And I think the control in this game works really well. It is a game, if you're playing on PC, works just fine with mouse and keyboard. And also, I like to play on PC with the gamepad, and the controls on the Switch work well too. So I think the controls are well articulated, and there's no hiccups where I'm like, oh my god, this is so frustrating. The combat is what it is. You'll get used to it, and it's fine. It is not super difficult, and you can do just fine, providing you take the time to not, go too deep and take enemies on that you have no business fighting. And that all makes perfect sense to me. So I think the control in this game is very, very good. It even lets you, most of the time when you're using a controller and you want fine-tuning adjustments, to bring up a mouse cursor and just use one of the analog sticks to move the cursor around to, for example, place furniture or something like that. So a subset of the controls that I always talk about are the systems and the UI. Like, okay, the game is asking you to do these things, and it has many different activities, which are the systems, and how does the UI help you navigate and execute those systems? So as far as the systems goes, this is tricky because Stardew Valley just does so much stuff. And yet the achievement, or one of the many achievements of Stardew Valley, is that it does it so well. Everything is fun. Everything makes sense. You can get into it. I'm not even a person who particularly likes fishing in games, and yet this is a game that is fun to fish. You're catching rare fish. You can, level up, and you can do some pretty cool stuff. And I think that there isn't a system, at least in my opinion, that's like such a stinker that you dread doing it. I think everything is pleasant and done well, and it all kind of works together to create this amazing experience that you see, because the game has become so iconic. A tremendous amount of games that try to basically copy this formula, incorporating these systems and maybe putting a slight spin on it, but just letting you do all of the things that this game does, basically. And as a product of a solo indie dev, it's just a masterpiece in terms of balancing the systems and making them all fun and work well. Now, what about the UI? So how does the UI help you navigate these different systems? I think the UI is just fine in this game. It makes perfect sense. You have a map. You have a list of, the people that you've met, your relationship levels with them, what they like, what they don't like. You have a journal. You have all kinds of good, transparent information that you can keep track of. You can see your inventory and manage that really well. So for me, the UI is fine. It probably works better with a mouse and keyboard than a controller, but then again, most of the time that's just the case with inventory management, and it works totally fine on a controller, and you should have no problems at all understanding the UI and how to use it. So the next thing I talk about in reviews is the story. Like, does Stardew Valley have a story or a narrative element? And actually it does. When I first booted it up, I didn't think it would be much of a story, and for large portions of the game, the story is pretty hands-off, but you have a primary directive, and you do have a slight kind of story that you're following as you find out, more about your grandfather and the farm and the community. But really, the story emerges as you meet the denizens of Stardew Valley, the people that you meet in the town, the different cutscenes that you get with them as you build your relationships, provide such a great kind of tapestry of a lived environment. Like, this feels like a thriving, small, rural town that you're happy to be a part of. It's got citizens that are just joys to be around. It's got old curmudgeons and cranks and oddballs and everything that you would expect in, a group of human people living together. And it's really fun to get to know all of them. And there is so much writing with letters, conversations, cutscenes, that actually the narrative and the lore in the game is one of the selling points of it that you might not even expect as you get into it. And there's memes and all kinds of things that people will know about their favorite characters, their favorite spouse, selections and such. So it does have a really, really nice bit of writing and story to it. So after story, what I talk about are the visuals. How does Stardew Valley look? Stardew Valley for me looks amazing. Now, I grew up, playing pixelated games with Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and so on. But even given the fact that it has these throwback pixel graphics, they are so charming and they contribute to the enjoyment and the just fun vibe of the game so well. They are excellent sprites with great animations. It's very colorful and vibrant. And I love the visual look of this game. Everything feels consistent, makes sense. You get cool portraits of the people when you talk to them. The decorations that you can build inside and outside look great, and it's just a fantastic looking game. And then what about the audio experience of Stardew Valley? How are the music, the sound effects, and the voice acting? Well, there's no real voice acting in Stardew Valley. Everything is red, but the music is phenomenal. It is such a well-scored game. The dungeon tracks are insanely good. The different seasons, you will just start to pick up on these tunes, and they will just become infectious, and I personally love it. I can't believe how good the music is. It contributes very strongly to the overall joy that you get playing the game, is that you have these songs that you recognize. There's a lot of music in the game, and I think it's really, really good. The sound effects are just fine, and some of the musical chimes that you get when you complete a quest or do an achievement or things like that are just joyous and will stick out, and you will be happy that you've heard them. So I think the audio is tremendous in this game. So given that we've talked about the fun factor, the controls, the systems, the story, the graphics, and the sound, how does that all come together to create a sense of style? Are those components, well done, but yet the game feels hollow or derivative or without a soul? Or does this feel like it's a unique game with a strong identity that contributes to the art that is a great video game? And I think, hands down, Stardew Valley's got some of the best style that you're going to find in gaming. Everybody knows what this is when you say it. It is iconic. It is this kind of archetypal experience now for the farming simulator game. And it is something where just the visuals alone can, strike a chord with people. People recognize it. It is so well done that it has, even given the fact that it comes out of Harvest Moon, it has its own identity and is a sensation that keeps getting updates and love as the years roll on. So this is a game that is, kind of a once-in-a-lifetime probably experience where everything hits so well and the style is through the roof. So I've been kind of gloriously praising Stardew Valley. How do I grade this game? How would I evaluate and give it a score? Or what I always do is a letter grade, like it's a paper that I've received in my classroom. Before I give a grade for Stardew Valley, I'd like to just kind of ground it in the scores on Steam and on Metacritic. So currently, this is May of 2024, Stardew Valley nearly has 600,000 overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam, which is just a staggering amount of overwhelmingly positive reviews, which speaks to the success that this game is and the regard that players have for it on Steam. On Metacritic, for the PC version of the game, Stardew Valley has an 89 from 32 critics and an 8.8 from nearly 2,000 users. Now, my score for the game is right there and actually slightly higher. I give Stardew Valley a no-brainer A+. This is, for my money, one of the best games of the past 25 years. It is a phenomenal achievement. It is a unique, positive, fun experience just booting up this game. Hearing the music, I immediately start to relax and melt and am happy. I can play this game from the start to the end so many times. I absolutely adore Stardew Valley. I think it's a achievement on every level of gaming. It's got great art. It's got great writing. It gives you the feels. It's fun. It's something you can put a whole bunch of time into, and it just executes everything so well. It's great on the Switch. It's great on the PC. It's great wherever you want to play it. This is a masterpiece of a game for me. So now what I like to do in my reviews is say, okay, I give it an A+. Do I recommend this game, and should you buy and play Stardew Valley? This is pretty simple. Games that it's comparable to, of course, Harvest Moon, and you could think about games that have been influenced by it, like Graveyard Keeper, for example. You know, there's other games. Coral Island, I believe, is one, if I'm getting the title of that right. There's many other games that try to do this, or, you know, and then maybe they even do it well, but this is the kind of, like, game that I feel best defines and executes that space or that genre. And if you like RPG chill games, farming games, you know, kind of games to relax and vibe out to, then yes, I recommend Stardew Valley. As far as difficulty, this is not a difficult game. Some of the things can be challenging, you know, but most of the stuff is just more like time consuming. If you want to catch all the fish, you know, that's hard. In the sense that it's going to take you some time. If you want to beat the dungeon and the hardest dungeon, okay, it's maybe challenging, but it more just requires you to grind up and get good food, good gear, and all that stuff. It is not a game that is hard, in my opinion. Now, what about the value? It is currently on Steam for $15. And it's probably one of those games that's like the best value in gaming. $15 for a game that you can put hundreds of hours into is ridiculous. This game has so much value. It is a slam dunk. And even when we talk about replayability, Stardew Valley actually has a lot of replayability. Given the fact that it's not like anything changes with the layout of the town or anything like that, but you can change your farm setup. You can play it multiplayer or single player. You could change who you want to get into a relationship with. You can change a major plot element later in the story, a choice that you have to make. You could change the priority of your farm. And even if you just do the same thing again, I think it's so much fun that you could just replay this whenever you like and just experience the joy of unlocking stuff in Stardew Valley. So all of that is a nice way of saying that Stardew Valley is one of those games that I regard and esteem so highly that I would recommend it to anyone. I don't care what kind of games you like to play, you should check out Stardew Valley. It is a game that's going to go down as a generational title that people will come back to for years and years and will always be played. It'll always be installed, you know, on my PC, for example. And I think that it is an absolute masterpiece. So, given my score, I'd love to know what you think about Stardew Valley. Do you agree with my review? Do you think my grade is too high, too low? What's your experience with Stardew Valley? Give me your thoughts, your impressions, your feelings about the game in the comments below, please. I'd love to read them and just check where everybody is with this game. Remember, I'm going to link the Steam page for the game so you can check it out, as well as my Let's Play and Beginner's Guide if you just want to see some more gameplay or learn how to play the game if you're interested in picking it up. But I think that this game is one that anyone can buy it and have absolutely no regrets and just have sheer joy and bliss when playing a game, which is what games are all about. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Take care.